It's last chance saloon for St Mirren as they look to avoid the playoffs. Can the Buddies take it to the final day, or will Killie get the 3 points they need? Will it be Dunfermline or Partick Thistle who face them in the playoffs? Hello, I'm Ray Bradshaw and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Tuesday the 12th of May. And in a year where they won the Cup, are St Mirren facing their biggest match of the season?
I'm embarrassed, first and foremost, that ultimately it's my responsibility. I'm leading the group. There's frustration, there's anger. That's the first day since I've kind of taken over the group that I've been really disappointed in us.
Can the Paisley Buddies avoid the playoffs as they face Aberdeen? Dundee travel to Killie, with Killie knowing a win will make them safe.
We want to play with bravery, we want to play with risk, but you should always have the structure behind them, and I think they've seen, particularly at home, they've seen that we're a good side.
Have Neil McCann's side hit top form at the right time? And who will the 11th place side play?
Full time, and it is Dunfermline who progressed to the semi-final of this Premiership playoff. Neil Lennon laps up the adulation.
We look ahead to Dunfermline against Partick Thistle. We've got Scottish football covered for you.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Yes, hello and welcome to the podcast. Another big day in Scottish football. Seems like this happens a lot now, where you go, oh, that was a huge weekend of Scottish football, and then you get to Tuesday and there's even more big games. As ever, we've got guests to join us. First up, Rory Loy, former striker of the teams I've mentioned already, St Mirren, Dunfermline. Any others that I mentioned already, Rory?
I don't think that you mentioned already, but there's a few more on that list. I'm sure a few more clubs will creep up throughout the podcast.
Yeah, I saw Carlisle United are looking for a new manager. Are you chucking your name in the hat?
No.
There's an exclusive for you right there.
They take the bus everywhere. Far too much travel.
Imagine, that's such a good point for turning a job down. They take the bus.
Yeah.
Also joined by Ryan Flynn, our both midfielder, former St Mirren. Oh God. Ryan, do you know what I was enjoying? I don't know if you spoke about this in the podcast. All the Liverpool youth stuff. When you scored in the, what was that, the FA Youth Cup final? What would that be, 2007? What?
It was 20 years ago. So there was one 2005 and then one 2006. So it was, to be fair, it's crazy just seeing it back. Obviously, there wasn't much social media going about then. So it was nice. And I was obviously showing my kids and that because they've probably never seen me score a goal for I don't know how many years.
You looked very young. Did you have, from that Liverpool career, from that Liverpool team, did you have one of the best careers, do you think?
No, Jay Spearing, he went to play for Liverpool against Real Madrid. He moved for £3 million to Bolton, so he had a very good career. He's still at the club as a coach / player for the 21s, I think. So yeah, he's probably the best of the bunch that came through.
I was a student in Liverpool at the time, so I moved down in 2007, and I met Jay Spearing because he was friends with one of the boys that I knew from Liverpool. I've never seen a young man look so old. It was fascinating. He looked like
still playing for the 21s as well, Ray.
Do you know, I noticed that. I was Googling it. I was like, that feels illegal, but let's have a look. Right, let's start with both your former club, St Mirren. It's a nice wee irony tonight, Rory, isn't it? Stephen Robinson could send St Mirren to the playoffs after winning a cup for them this season. I was doing a show on the BBC Sports Scottish Football YouTube channel last night, chatting to a St Mirren fan, and he said it feels like they've fallen off a cliff in the past few weeks. When you think about, they beat Aberdeen 2-0 not that long ago. I think in Craig Clichy's 8 games, I think they've not scored in 5 of them. It's an uphill battle for them tonight. Do you think they can do it, or do you think playoff is their time?
I mean, it's interesting you say Stephen Robinson can sign St Mirren in an ironic twist of fate to the playoffs, but it might all be immaterial because Kilmarnock are in such good form. If they beat Dundee at home, the rest is rendered irrelevant, and that's the way it could play out because Dundee going down there, Dundee are a good side, and on their day they can cause Kilmarnock problems. Of course they can, and they've been very tight affairs, but it might not be relevant, that fixture up at Pittodrie, in terms of the 11th spot. Can St Mirren go up there and win the form they're in? I think they're going to find it very difficult, I have to say. Craig McLeish, he's getting labelled an inexperienced manager constantly, which, yes, can potentially play a part, but when you look at the season St Mirren have had, he's picked up a couple of wins, he's had a slump. Stephen Robinson was struggling with the same type of things. Now, I do understand they won the Cup, but Craig McLeish will be desperate to do enough between now and the end of the season, whether it's 2 games, whether it's more than likely 4 games, to show that he's got enough about him to get them out of this, mess.
Yeah, it's
I think we'll struggle at the tonight, though. I really do, Ray.
Yeah, a lack of goals all season. I mean, didn't stop either of you two having a career. Ryan, when you look at that, the lack of goals, there's a goalkeeping crisis. They've gone through a lot. It just feels like it's not their time, doesn't it?
I know what you're saying, but I think you have to go into more than likely they're going to end up in this relegation playoff battle. You've got 2 games before that. Form has dipped, momentum's gone. They have to build something back before these 2 games. As Rory said, no matter what happens, it's out their hands. Kilmarnock are flying. Neil McCann's turned that ship around. You expect them probably tonight to do the job against Dundee, make sure that they're not in that relegation playoff. So St Mirren, on the other hand, are now shipping goals as well as not scoring. So the first thing they can do, no matter how much they play a lovely attacking, brandy football, bodies forward, they're not scoring enough goals, no matter how attacking they become. So the first thing they have to do is go back to probably their basics and make sure they've got their key men, Marcus Fraser, Alex Gockage, Frecklinton at the back. They're the guys. Get a clean sheet and then get some belief, momentum. Just maybe it's sneak a goal, maybe it's a 0-0 tonight, whatever it is. You can't go into those playoff games and being soft and being easy to beat, because no doubt they're going to be really difficult, hard games against 2 top attacking championship sides. So that's probably what I'd look at the focusing out a 4-game period rather than the 2-game. Try and get some performances and try and get belief back into this side.
Yeah, it's funny how you've both said a 4-game period. You forget about that because you think about the 2 league games, and then to me a playoff is a totally different entity to a league game. Rory, you watch a lot of football. What have you made of Stephen Robinson's Aberdeen?
I covered the first game up at Pittodrie that he took charge against Falkirk, and they were competitive without being particularly good. But I think they've grown from strength to strength. I think the message from Stephen Robinson's been pretty clear. They do play a relatively familiar way to his St Mirren side in the way they used to play. So look, I think he's done well to go in there and be at this stage in the season and have absolutely no concerns about relegation. The biggest thing is he's bought himself 3 or 4 extra weeks to recruit. Because whilst just still, there was one stage that everyone thought they might finish 11th. They really did. And he's got them out of the mire in that respect. I think Stephen Robinson's challenge will come next season because there will be a level of expectation to play a particular way. Now, Stephen Robinson's done magnificently well at St Mirren and Motherwell with budgets which he's probably worked with most of his managerial career. He's went to players that he's known. So far this season, he's done things the way we have become familiar with Stephen Robinson doing things, playing the 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, the 2 up top, and he's done well with it. But next season, I think there'll be a level of expectation to play a certain way, so it'll be interesting to see whether he does that. He'll have more money than he's ever had to go out and spend and to recruit and pay wages for, so I'm sure he's got a lot of ideas as to where he wants to go. So he's got them safe. He's got plenty of time to look at that. But I think he's done a really good job at just getting Aberdeen out of the conversation and concentrating on next season. But really interesting to see what he does with a bit more money and a bit more to spend and a bit higher, a much higher level of expectation.
Yeah, I'd be flabbergasted if Alex Gogic is not an Aberdeen player next season. It seems like, managers take players with them. It feels like he's got to be one of them. Let's get a wee prediction for tonight. Ryan, who's getting the points tonight? All square, or is one team taking home the 3 points in that game?
I'm going to go for a little bit of belief back into the side. They've got a point on the board, St Mirren, at least. It might not be enough, but I think Stephen Robinson's going to tackle that head on. He'll want the 3 points. Their final home game. I'll go a point.
Rory?
Yeah, I think it'll be a home win, Ray. I think St Mirren, as much as they keep the ball a little bit better now, in certain areas of the pitch, they're struggling to create. And I just think, might not be by much, but I think Aberdeen will nick it.
That's good. You can see the difference in opinion in both of you. The fact that Ryan's thinking, I might get invited back to some more St Mirren dinners, and I better say they won't lose tonight. I know how this works. Elsewhere, Kilmarnock host Dundee. You mentioned him earlier, Ryan. Neil McCann has really turned them round. We were speaking to a Kelly fan last night, and I had to say, when I saw they appointed Neil McCann back in January, I think it was, I thought that was a mental appointment. I really, really did. And he's a home hand up. I was completely wrong. He's done incredible. The home form, since I think they're third or fourth in the league table in home form since he's taken over. Rangers connection with obviously Finlay Curtis in great form. What a job Neil McCann's done down there, hasn't he?
He's been a breath of fresh air, to be honest. Just the way he's come into a relegation side and just breathed that airy confidence in the group of players that he already had. Of course, he deserves credit for the recruitment and bringing those players in and getting those players in running. It's easy bringing players in, but to bring them into a relegation battle and breathe that confidence in is the hard bit. And I think that's the bit where he deserves the credit. But on the flip of that, there's also players within that squad that were already there. And Greg Kiltie being one, he's playing outstanding at the moment. He's ended up the club player of the year, and a massive party. How they go about their business, obviously they look more solid at the back. Then he's sort of that difference maker. He really creates a lot of good chances. He's the one that settles the play down, gets the ball moving at the top end of the pitch. So I think he deserves credit also, Neil McCann, for re-galvanising those players and pushing them on and getting top performances as well. It's not just nicking results and being hard to beat. It's that attacking threat, and they just look... It's good to watch at times, and they thoroughly deserve the 3 points at Smiza against St Mirren, which is a massive game, pressure, environment. So all those things, he just deserves massive credit for the turnaround there, and he'll be looking to get the job done tonight, especially against a Dundee side that, listen to Stephen Presley, it looks like he's going to rotate. His job's done, and probably another manager that deserves massive credit. Yeah,
Stephen Presley, I interviewed him not long before he took the Dundee job, and I'd never met him before. I just wanted, when I came away, he was so personable. I just wanted nothing but good things from him. And you did think Dundee was not a great job for him to take at the time. You're not 100% sure. He'd left a very cushy job at Brentford. He's done great. And also, his pre-match interviews are always brilliant because he's so honest and he comes through. It's been great. If we go back to Kilmarnock, Rory, Finlay Curtis in great form. You came through with the same club he did. Do you think Kelly could take him on loan again next season, or are Rangers crying out for a player like that? And if so, will he actually get the chance?
I mean, he's had opportunities so far, and the frustrating thing watching from the outside is he's actually when he was at Rangers, he's actually taken them. And listen, when I worked from 8 years old to play professional football, and I got to the point where I made my debut, and it was for Rangers, and ultimately 12 years of work culminated in a 35-minute opportunity, and if you don't do well enough, that's you done. And the fact that I went in, and overall I wasn't good enough, but Finlay Curtis looks like he is good enough, and he's went in and taken opportunity after opportunity. He scored goals in European games, he scored goals in league games, and I would like to see him back at Rangers next year, and I would like to see him given a proper run in the team, because I think he's went out there to Kilmarnock. He's played right back, he's played left midfield, he's played here, there and everywhere, he's scored goals. It's looking more and more likely that he's going to be in the Scotland squad. I mean, he was involved in the last one and he's done unbelievable since, so I don't see any reason why that would change given the bigger squad as well. So no, I would like to see him stay at Rangers and be given a proper run in the team to try and phase him into it. But it's interesting hearing you speak there about Kilmarnock and Neil McCann, and St Mirren as well, because Neil McCann came to Dundee when they were trying to avoid relegation, and it was the season that I was on loan at St Mirren, and we needed a draw on the last day to stay up in the Championship. So it's kind of history repeating itself. I know St Mirren are in the top league, but they're trying to avoid relegation. And let me tell you, see Neil McCann's Dundee the following year, when they did keep them up, they actually played some really good stuff. They just couldn't score goals. They missed chance after chance after chance every week. So I think Neil McCann will feel like it's a bit of a reprieve for him to have the opportunity to keep Kilmarnock up and really build next year. I think they will do it, and if they can get John Jules back and a few others, I think they could go from strength to strength next season.
Yeah, you forget about that Dundee time because it feels so long ago, doesn't it? It really, really does in terms of football. Other two clubs in the league just now, Ryan, the bottom six, Dundee United at home to Livy tonight. Both sides just looking to build for next season now, isn't it? Obviously, we've a managerial change at Livy. It was covered before in the podcast. Is it just a dead rubber? What happens in these games, like in the change room? What's the chat before the game? What will people be saying?
I mean, tonight, sadly, will be a little bit of a non-event. Jim Goodwin looked so relaxed in his pre-match press. I mean, players will a little bit of professional pride at stake, but I mean, probably the main thing, and people won't be, and especially the physios in the medical department, they'll be wanting no serious injuries going into the summer, that people are spoiling their holidays, that's for sure. Job's done for Dundee United. They'll look to finish 7th as high up as possible. As for Livingston, disappointing season, another managerial change. Whether it's right or wrong is a different story. A chance for maybe Scott Arfield to show that he can be in the sidelines and produce 3 points. Disappointing affair at Dens at the weekend. So yeah, it really is a bit of a non-event. I don't think there'll be too much to write home in tonight's game. Yeah,
the managerial change at Livingston, I have to say, Marvin Bartley, I thought his statement was very, very good, laid it all out. And nice to see a return of a footballer doing a kind of notes app, putting all his thoughts out there. Usually that's for apologies, and that was a nice change. I did enjoy that. Finally, I get the chance to talk about Partick Thistle. I'm contractually obliged every now and then to do it, and now we've got it. Usually, in past seasons, it's been a downer at playoffs. This year, we don't know. It feels like we're in the playoffs every year. I was chatting to another Thistle fan last night, and we couldn't remember what game was in what season because all the playoffs just merge into one. Rory, for you, does having almost 2 weeks off after the league finishes help a team or not? Are you fresh? Are you rusty? Well, I can't decide. 2
weeks is probably a nice length of time. I mean, I remember I got to the Scottish Cup final with Falkirk in the Championship. We finished 5th in the Championship. We had 5.5, 6 weeks to wait for one game, and that wasn't particularly great, I have to say. But I think 2 weeks is a nice little period of time for Partick Thistle to get any kind of knocks and niggles recovered, and you're on the training pitch. I don't think that's an issue. I don't think you can look at that and say it's been too long without a game. You would much rather finish second and get that time than have to contest 2 really tricky games like Dunfermline have. And I can't call it, Ray. I really can't. It's going to be such an interesting and intriguing tie over the 2 legs that I don't like sitting on the fence. It's not something I do very often, but I would be hastening to pick a winner at this point because I think you could really build a strong case for both sides.
I'm surprisingly confident about this, which I feel will be clipped and played out at Friday at 10 p.m. on the socials. It does feel like that.
You were confident a few years ago, Ray, with half an hour to go.
Do you know? I was so confident. I put out a tweet of me and my friends enjoying the sunshine, and by the time I'd sent it, it was already 3-1, and then it just went, oh my God, Rory, don't say the D word at this time in the morning. You could literally see my horror flashback there. I'll never forget, I left that game, drove from Dingwall to Stirling, still wearing my Thistle kit, went on stage, and I was talking about lockdown, and I said lockdown 2, and the guy in the front row said Partick Thistle 1, and it made me sad. Really, really sad. Ryan, I spoke to you just as we jumped on today. You played Dunfermline twice in the past week. I used the word rotten for both games from having watched them. I didn't think they were great spectacles. You obviously play in it, so you get different things. What can Thistle expect from Dunfermline? What's their strengths? What their weaknesses? And I'm guessing you're going to say no, but will they have one eye in the cup final?
It doesn't feel like it, that's for sure. I don't think Neil Lennon would allow that group of players to do that. They definitely put in a resolute performance over the both legs. Made it a tough job. I just feel like, a little bit different from Rory, I just feel that Partick Thistle's attacking threat and the real quality that they have within that squad. I mean, there's so many good players: Ben Stanway, Ocean Smith, Fraser Taylor in the middle of the park. Then you've got the front three normally when it's Fitzpatrick's, Chalmers, and then you've got Tony Watt. But then you've got Samuel in there who's been outstanding. They've just got so many talents at that top end of the pitch that can really hurt you. They can mix up the game, they can play free-flowing football through you, or they can go direct to Tony Watt or Samuel. I just think it's up for Dunfermline to be successful over the two legs. I think tonight's massive. I think they have to make this the home stage a real fortress tonight. Really maybe catch Partick Thistle cold. You obviously said they've been off for the 2, well, not been off for the 2 weeks, but they've had the 2 week break. I don't think it's an excuse, but maybe that's what Dunfermline will be hoping for. They've been in the thick of the action over the two legs. I think it'll be a lot more entertaining over the two legs, and I think there'll be a lot more quality at the top end of the pitch. But I think over the two legs, I think it'll be Partick Thistle that'll be victorious, and it'll be them that'll probably face in St Mirren when it comes to the relegation playoff battle just after the season ends.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned those players, because if we do play St Mirren, obviously Ocean Smith, Fraser Taylor, that's their parent club, they won't be able to play. So it's all these little factors chipping in. Ben Stanway, there was reports he was meant to be a doubt. Mark Wilson came out yesterday and said he's got a fully fit squad. Ryan, one thing I did enjoy was, obviously we have 2 weeks off, we've been rotating players. You think you might see players go to Dubai. That feels like a very footballer thing to do. Alex Samuel went to Wales, and that just made me happy. I was like, you could tell we don't pay big enough wages for that to happen. You can watch that on the BBC Scotland channel from 7:30 tonight. And I'd love to, I was talking to Ryan about this earlier, a little bit of praise for Dunfermline. Tickets tonight, £12, which is a phenomenal. So if you are local in the area and you want to go down and watch a game of football, the tickets are £12, £10 and £8, which is unheard of for playoff football. As someone who's bought a lot of playoff football tickets over the past 5 or 6 years. So well done to Dunfermline for that. The other playoff game we can get tonight, Clyde playing at Hamilton, host Hamilton, who play at Broadwood in the League One playoff tonight. How do you see this one going, Rory? If Hamilton stay up, it's a great escape. I think it's the exact figures, 21 points they've been deducted this season. I believe they would have finished third without the points deduction in the league. Do you think Hamilton, and not to single out one player, but do you think Hamilton / Ollie Shaw have enough to beat Clyde?
Yeah, well, my old neighbour, who I'm, and a good friend of mine, is a massive Accies fan. He's there home and away all the time, and he's confident. It's a bizarre set of circumstances when you look at who's at home, who's away. Clyde playing at Hamilton playing at Clyde. It's strange, but he's quietly confident they'll be able to do it, and I do think they probably will have too much for Clyde as well. You feel for Spartans a bit, getting so close, and then Clyde just having that momentum. Spartans being disappointed. It just goes to show how much that can play into the hands of the team who, maybe nick fourth spot in these playoffs. And yeah, I think Ollie Shaw, Kevin O'Hara's a boy I played with as well. He's getting kind of played out on the sides at the moment. He's really instinctive in front of goal as well. He's not maybe getting as many opportunities that end of the pitch because he's playing out on the sides. It's happened to me a lot during my career. You're a striker judged on goals and you end up doubling up as a left fullback half the time. But I think Hamilton will have enough to beat Clyde, but and I think the firepower will do it. So Ollie Shaw, Kevin O'Hara, Lee Kildare at the back's good, experienced player. So there's enough there for Hamilton, who should have finished third, to go and get the job done. That's not to rule Clyde out, because these playoffs can throw anything up, but I strongly fancy Hamilton.
Yeah, I think that'd be the kind of going one. I think it's there's been a lot of interesting kind of subplots in the playoffs when you have Clyde and Hamilton swapping stadiums. You've got Stenhousemuir's manager getting appointed elsewhere during the playoff campaign. It's all seemed a bit odd. Ryan, for you as a player, what happens now? So your season's done. You've got X amount of weeks. What's your holiday plans? What do you get?
Well, I was actually planning to try and I was trying to go after the May the 25th, and I was really positive in trying to drive that to the squad. But no, I'll be trying to get away earlier and get a break with the family. Normally do nothing for 2 weeks, and then after that, nowadays you can't rest on just coming back and doing your pre-season. When you get back, you're basically fit by the time you come back. It's just more game time and minutes. So 2 weeks off, do nothing, and then after that, I'll build back up.
I mean, when the season finishes, obviously for you it was Friday night. What do you eat? Do you go big? Do you treat yourself, or are you gutted after a loss, a draw that was a loss?
At my stage of my career, I'm always treating myself after every game. If I make 90 minutes, that's a treat for me, and make sure I'm having a Chinese or whatever, canny iron brew, enjoying myself. But no, I mean, you were talking about earlier about the Dunfermline, would you rather be in it? I mean, you definitely feel the effects of the intensity of the games that there is. Obviously, the quality sometimes not as high, but the energy that you have to use in those games, it's sometimes obviously the younger players as well, the mentality, it can be draining. So definitely a Partick Thistle that way. So, I mean, I was disappointed on the night, but with my body feeling the way it is now, I'm quite happy, and it leaves me free for this podcast this morning, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what we all wanted. That's all we get time for. Many thanks to Rory and Ryan, and thank you for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Yep, today, huge game. You can watch both games, Clyde against Hamilton on BBC Alba from 7:35 tonight. You can watch Thistle at Dunfermline on the BBC Scotland channel from 7:30. And then we go again tomorrow with more huge Scottish football games. Remember, you can hear every top flight game tonight on Sports Sound on Radio Scotland. And Ryan, I hope you enjoy watching it on the telly. I'll be there with my £12 ticket. And I'm guessing if Thistle go 2-0 down, I'll be sitting thinking, I wish Aaron Muirhead had scored that penalty and we could have got extra time. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
It's petty, it's ill-informed.
Are President Trump's cuts having an adverse effect on research?
It's pandemonium.
What number's that in the periodic table?
PD, number 47. I don't know.
I've done the shooting clays before. The longer you do it, the sorer obviously it gets.
When Craig said there he'd been shooting the clays, I imagined him out a back line. Somebody's washing, you know.
William Shatner, his secretary, contacted me to say, when Bill has a question now and again, can he contact you? And then one time he called me up and he wanted to know, David, what is a photon? I'm thinking, this is incredible. Captain Kirk wants to know what a photon is, you know?
I once met a guy who referred to a globe as a ball map. A ball map.
A ball map.
Look at the ball map. Well, what we normally do is spin the ball map and we see where we go on holiday.
The Off the Ball podcast, available every Monday on BBC Sounds.